50 minutes? Really? This is the longest video I've ever filmed on my camera. Don't look forward to the editing. It's gonna take me forever. Hi, you're watching Avenue X, where junkie on good storytelling shares their thoughts, knowledge, and occasional weird ideas on stories and how they're told. In this video, I'm gonna continue talking about wuxia. But this time, let's bring in the most significant person and his work in this genre, Jin Yong. Jin Yong is, without argument, the most prominent wuxia genre writer of 20th century China. In this video, I am only going to focus on one trilogy that is widely regarded as the most influential trilogy of his entire work. So there will be more videos about Jin Yong's wuxia novel that's adapted to screen because there's just too much to fit into one video. And if you know anything about Chinese wuxia novels, you probably already guessed when I said about trilogy, which three I am talking about. In English, it will be translated as the Condor Trilogy, so there are 3 books involved. Not 100% a fan of the English translation because it doesn't make sense or register with my brain. But in Chinese, that would be 射雕英雄传, 神雕侠侣, and 倚天屠龙记. Before I go into talk about the different versions of TV adaptation of these 3 novels, I want to first just introduce it to you. These 3 books are called trilogy because they were first written chronologically in the late 50s and 60s. Also because within the 3 stories, the timeline is actually chronological. Jin Yong was the editor of Mingbao at the time, and he actually really wanted people to read his political comments. But people weren't that interested, so to make people buy more of his newspapers, he did serial writings of novels, which are his wuxia novels. Those are the things that made the sales of his newspaper possible, so that people can read his serious stuff, although eventually people remembered him for writing those novels, not his political commentary. So life is interesting in that respect. The first of the 3 books, 射雕英雄传, English translation would be, I just can't remember these things, The Legend of the Condor Heroes. Okay, whatever. 射雕英雄传 means just shoot down the eagle. Hero's Legends of Shooting Down the Eagle was written between 57 and 59. Then from 1959 to 61, it was the time he wrote the second in the trilogy, 神雕侠侣. The Return of the Condor Heroes. Okay. Not actually a right translation. More accurately, it should be The Legend of the Holy or Sacred Eagle couple. Yeah. Well, that's what it means. Then from 61 to 62 is the time when he wrote the 3rd one in the trilogy, 倚天屠龙记, Heaven Sword and Dragon Sabre. That would be a pretty accurate translation. This period is regarded as kind of his middle period. It's no longer the early books. It's not yet the later books too, because people, when they study Jin Yong, tend to break his works into 3 sort of periods. Within the story, these 3 books are also connected. The first book is set in Nan Song, South Song Dynasty, so that's like the second half of Song Dynasty, when at that time the dynasty is already declining and it is facing a lot of invasion from different clan groups in the north, and eventually leading to the Yuan Dynasty, the Mongolian rule. Then the second book follows immediately after that. So the first book's lead characters become the mother and father generation of the second book. And then by the time you get 3rd book, there's a bigger time gap between the 2nd and the 3rd, because we are already in the Yuan dynasty when we get to the 3rd novel. All 3 novels are written about very similar length. They're all a bit over 1 million Chinese characters long. And the old version I think I owned back then are all printed in 4 books, so each story has 4 books, each is about that thick, so it's quite a big book. I think it's fair to say that these 3 books contain some of the most favorite, beloved wuxia characters in the entire sort of canon of Chinese wuxia literature, such as Huang Rong, Guo Jing, Xiaolongnü, Yang Guo. These people are really bigger than life, and they're so important to Chinese-speaking people around the world, to a lot of Chinese people who live overseas or their children who grew up overseas. This is like their book. into the Chinese culture. Because these 3 books are so popular and so important, they have been adapted to screen so many times. Personally, because I was born at a particular time in history, so there are the ones that are too old for me. I've never actually watched them, or because when I was growing up, there are newer versions to watch, but I know their existence, and I know some of them are just extremely important to the whole canon. So today, I'm gonna talk about a few adaptations of each of those 3 books. So first, let's start with 射雕英雄传, The Legend of the Condor Hero. Whenever we talk about 射雕英雄传, the classic that everyone agrees is the 1983 version with Ong Meiling and Huang Rihua. Because it's so old now, these days when people talk about it, it's mostly due to nostalgia, I think, rather than the quality of the production, because honestly, in the 80s in Hong Kong, if you're judging from today's standard, the quality is just very difficult to deal with, let's just say. But I think the classicness of this version is mostly due to the female lead actress Ong Meiling, her personal story, the very sad story of her suicide, and then of how prominent or how widely loved her portrayal of Huang Rong in that version is still today often regarded as the best Huang Rong ever. Because of a lot of that emotion and a lot of that memory stuff attached to it, it becomes a sort of canonic version of 射雕英雄传. But because it was actually before my time, I wasn't even born when that drama came out. So I never really watched the whole thing. I think I've seen snippets of it through time. And because it is really old, the style to me, so I never actually liked the look of it or how it's done, but I recognize how important it is to the entire TV adaptation canon of Jin Yong's work. The next one, chronologically, that I actually have watched is made in '94, also in Hong Kong, led by Zhang Zhiling and Zhu Ying. I have very little complaint about that version, apart from the fact that Zhang Zhiling is just too good looking for the main male character, because in the book, Guo Jing is not good looking, like not dashingly good looking as his counterpart, the anti-hero Yang Kang, his sort of not really kin brother but kind of blood brother. That character should be a very upright, very righteous, very strong, very determined but not good looking guy, and yeah, maybe more like cuddly big teddy bear than a dashingly handsome knight in shiny armor, which is what Zhang Zhiling looks like. I love everything apart from the fact that I just still think Zhang Zhiling is too good looking for the role. But then I might just slap myself, because later you'll see another version with another really good looking actor playing Guo Jing. So in the book, Guo Jing is not good looking. And Huang Rong didn't fall in love because Huang Rong is the pretty, the cleverest person, and who is spoiled growing up. She has everything she wants in her life. She's rich, she's clever, she's everything. But she falls in love with this little bit dumb boy. Not because he's good looking, because of his really stellar character, let's just say. So 94, that's the old version with a lead man that is just too good looking for the role. Then in 2003, mainland China made a version of it, starring Li Yapeng and Zhou Xun, also with Zhou Jie as Yang Kang and Jiang Qingqing as Mu Nianci. This version is often not that much loved, but I actually personally really liked it. I remember I bought DVD of this one. I think I still have the DVD somewhere in my hometown, stacked away. I think a lot of people didn't like the fact that Zhou Xun has a really deep set voice, but the fact that she is one of the best actresses out there. And she really plays Huang Rong very, very well. Very close to how book would represent her, apart from perhaps her voice, because her voice is really deep, but Huang Rong is more like a young, very lively girl's that kind of image. It is one of those earlier ones. China mainland started to take Jin Yong's work to put it out as TV dramas, eventually leading to a huge wave of remake of Jin Yong's wuxia novels in mainland China. I'm actually still a fan of it, and there's one tune in that version that I still remember today for some weird reason. It's not even like the main theme song, it's one of those soundtracks that plays in the background. And I still sometimes remember it in my dream, I don't understand why. But that one went into my head really well and it's kind of stuck there. Then, this is the face slapping one. In 2008, Tang Ren, for a period of time, kind of completely monopolized China's young idol period drama market. Company made 射雕英雄传 with Hu Ge and Lin Yichen and Liu Shishi and Yuan Hong. This is also a lot of people have a strong emotional attachment to this one. It's very well made. I've watched it, I loved it. The fact that Hu Ge and Yuan Hong are just blood brother-like in real life. The fact that it actually covers the period when Hu Ge was starting filming, and then he got into really bad car crash. And then they stopped filming for over a year to wait for him to come back to the crew and do the rest of the stuff. So this is the drama that really just captured that really turbulent period of the main lead actor's life before he had his accident and after he had his accident. In a way, a lot of people, when they think about this drama, they will think about Hu Ge's personal story, so they has something more than the drama itself. Now, I said face slapping because in this one, Guo Jing, the guy who's supposed to be not good looking, is super good looking, as Hu Ge is. So yeah, what can I say? But he really doesn't look like what he should be looking like based on the book. And I really love Yuan Hong as Yang Kang. I think he's one of the best Yang Kang ever. So good looking. You almost like him too much to hate him because he's not a good guy in the book or in the drama. And then after almost 10 years, in 2017, a new version came out. This actually came out very low-key, and a lot of people didn't realize this is not a casual remake to make money. This is actually pretty serious. They follow the book very closely, and everybody's acting is on spot, led by Yang Xuwen and Li Yitong. It also has Chen Xingxu. If you've been following the Eastern Palace, yeah, he was in that one too. I think this one came out as a surprise because 17, 18, 19, you know, these 3 years is a really epic crash of quality of Chinese dramas because of so many reasons that I've talked about so many times in my previous video. When this one came out, people were like, yeah, it's definitely gonna be really bad. It's led by really young actors who don't know what they're doing, and it's gonna be just trashing on the name of Jin Yong. But then people realized, no, actually, it's really well made. And it actually has really high score on Douban, and it's generally regarded as one of the best adaptations. Especially, it's so rare that these days, good stuff can still come out of Jin Yong's work. People are basically surprised that it's actually watchable and it's pretty good. So the 5 射雕英雄传 that I've talked about are the ones that I have known or I've watched. I think everybody who's read the book or watched the drama will love this pair, Guo Jing and Huang Rong. Such a cute couple. In a way, it's most realistic couple among the 3 trilogies, although it's quite crazy when you think about their character setup and how extremely unusual they are. It still feels most solid and most real as a couple and as a relationship between a guy and a girl. So now let's move into the second one. 神雕侠侣, the return of the Condor hero. So I guess they're still, you can call that, but really the lead characters are Yang Guo and Xiaolong Nu, not Huang Rong and Guo Jing. So in this book, Huang Rong and Guo Jing becomes dad and mom, and it's about their kids' generation story. There also have been many different versions of 神雕侠侣. I'm only gonna talk about 3, because these 3 I've seen, I know about them, and then I think most people in our most recent memories know these 3. First one was made in 1995 in Hong Kong and often considered to be the most classic version, which is led by Li Ruotong and Gu Tianle. I think this one is so beloved because they casted the perfect people for those 2 roles. Gu Tianle, everybody knows, super handsome, and this is before he permanently tanned his skin, so now he's really dark. But this is before the period when he decided to change the skin tone. So he's super pale in this one, and his look, it's just so close to how the book would describe Yang Guo. Extremely good looking young man who is almost a mirror image of his father. Then you have Li Ruotong as Xiaolong Nu, who is just so pretty. She's so elegant and beautiful. She's very good at sports, so there's a lot of fight scenes in this, and she's supposed to be really good at martial art. At least in the beginning part, she's like much better than sort of most of the people around her. And she wears that white clothes as described in the book all the time. And the way she fights, like when she moves, it looks very good on camera. Not to mention, she's just so pretty. And then she's beautiful in a way that's also very close to how the book would describe Xiaolong Nu as a character, who is almost like otherworldly. And the closest thing, I think, in a Western literature would be somebody who looks like an elf, who's so elegant, who has this air around them that it's like they don't belong to a planet Earth. She's very pale, the book, because she always lives in a tomb, in a dark place. She doesn't get a lot of sunlight. She comes out with AC around her. It's like she cools the air and everybody stops breathing. So she's that pretty in the book. She's, I think, the prettiest person, I think, among all Jin Yong's book. Maybe you can argue with Xiangxiang Gongzhu, and her probably would be the most beautiful woman in all Jin Yong's books. And Li Ruotong certainly does that justice. So I think that's the reason most people love this version. Also, it has very good music. And then also that one has a lot of great supporting roles. Every supporting actors in that version is just like stellar good. Exactly as what they should be, as the book described. So 95, definitely a classic. Everybody loved that one. Nobody really said anything bad about it. It's just like perfect of its time. Then in 2006, mainland China. So this is the wave starting in early 2000s with 笑傲江湖 with 射雕英雄传 I talked about, and then this one remake in mainland. And this one is led by Liu Yifei and Huang Xiaoming. This one is more contested. Production budget, the real sets, real location made this look much more epic, not to mention it went to Jiuzhaigou to film. And Jiuzhaigou is arguably the most beautiful place on planet Earth. So pretty. The blue, like turquoise blue lake, it's just like not worldly beautiful. And Liu Yifei was like what, 19 years old, 18 years old when she made that. So she was like at the peak of her sort of youthful beauty between, say, teenager and adult. That's like a perfect timing, exactly like the book 小龙女 should be. She's just like beautiful. Like what else can you say? She's just pretty. She's pretty everywhere. Not just facial, but also her movement is beautiful. She was trained as dancer, so she can do moves that are pretty insane. I think most people have problem with this one is because of Huang Xiaoming. Okay, let's just say 教主 is not very well loved across the board. And also I think in this one, he really didn't do his A game. Like when the circumstance is right, Huang Xiaoming can be a really good actor, but it really depends on what drama or what film or who is directing him, because he doesn't always perform well. And this is the one he doesn't quite perform well. And not to mention in this one, he's kind of at the peak of his, let's say, weight. Now for an actor, it's a very cruel thing, but he had like really big face in this drama. So when his face and Liu Yifei's face are in the same shot, they're like huge and small. It's not the best pairing. But today, when you look back, it still is considered as one of, if not as classic as 95, then pretty classic. I think mostly due to the fact that the casting choice of Liu Yifei, and she really just fits into the role very well to be the unearthly pretty woman as described in the book. Then we're gonna talk about the third one, probably the most hated one, which was done in 2014 and led by Chen Xiao and Chen Yanxi. This one, nobody said anything good about it. And I feel very sorry for the actors, because I think Chen Xiao, okay, if you're judging from the appearance, he can do a good Yang Guo. It's mostly due to that Chen Yanxi. The thing is, she can be a really good actress. Like there have been films that she was in that I really liked. The thing is, the way she looks is very different from what people usually pictures 小龙女 to be. From the book or previous actors who have played this role, she's just a completely different style beauty. And then the drama didn't do her justice. Like the style, they did her hair, the makeup, like everything just didn't help. She has a very chubby, sort of childlike, youthful face that make you think she's like a teenager. But 小龙女 has a totally different sort of feel as a character. I think that's a really big mismatch, which gave her a lot of pain. People just was really mean to her about her being in this. This is just super unfair. So I think that one, a lot of people hated that one because of these reasons. The thing is, among the trilogy, I would say 神雕 would be the hardest to remake because the casting choice, particularly for 小龙女, is difficult. It's very hard to satisfy anyone because the beauty standard of this character in the book is just way too over the top for normal humans to reach. In case you don't know, a new version of 神雕 is in the making right now. And judging from the certain sort of photos that's leaked, people weren't happy with the casting choices. I just like, I wish the crew good luck. but I sense a very difficult future waters for this drama to navigate because of their casting choices. Then let's talk about the third one. This video is getting way too long. Okay, the third one, 倚天屠龙记, Heaven's Sword and Dragon Sabre. In the story, this happens in Yuan Dynasty. This is a very peculiar period of Chinese history, slightly less than 1 century long rule of the Mongolians, and this is at the end of that period. So between the second and the third book, there's almost a century gap. But then some older characters do get mentioned in the third book. In this book, we have Zhang Wuji as the main lead role, although he doesn't show up like until 25% past the whole book. And then the two female lead role would be Zhou Zhiruo and Zhao Ming. One is a young disciple who's very loved by her teacher, but also, yeah, it's a really complicated relationship, who belongs to Mei Pai, all women, and is founded by Guo Xiang, who is the younger daughter of Guo Jing and Huang Rong. Zhao Ming is a princess of the Mongolian ruling class, the actual royal family, member of the royal family, so that's a very interesting setup. This one often gets talked about because of the women surrounding the main lead male character. He's often considered these days as 渣男 male lead character, because there are so many women around him and then they all like him, but he's like the person who can't choose between whom. It's like, yeah, you're good, but you're good too. I don't know, like I'm swinging between all these choices, so that makes him like really not loved, let's just say, especially in today's political and cultural atmosphere. 倚天屠龙记 has also been made in so many versions. I'm gonna talk about a couple that I think are interesting. Chronologically, the first one I want to talk about was made in 94, I believe, yes, in Taiwan, and it's led by Ma Jingtao, Ye Tong, and Zhou Haimei. I think that version is most well known today now because of Zhou Haimei's portrayal of Zhou Zhiruo. She is at the height of her beauty at the time, and she really fits into the role. And her style in that drama, the way she did her hair and her makeup and her clothing, is almost like the standard of Zhou Zhiruo. Later stuff that came often try to imitate the look that she had in that drama because it's so classic and memorable. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that one, but I have to say the song from that one is really good. I think that's why a lot of people also remember that one, is because the theme song is just fantastic. Ye Tong is also very well known, although she's most well known for playing a male character in 新白娘子 in The Legend of the White Snake. So a lot of people actually wasn't really comfortable with her playing a woman in this drama. That's very weird. And Ma Jingtao is most famous for his 琼瑶 romantic novel adaptation TV dramas, where he plays those screaming roles. His most famous note for his screaming. Although this version is actually one of the classics, I think, today when people look back, due to the reasons that I mentioned before, the song and particularly Zhou Haimei as Zhou Zhiruo. Then in 2001, there's a TVB version led by Wu Qihua, She Shiman, and Li Zi. Wu Qihua was like 37 at the time, so he really is a little bit too old for Zhang Wuji. Zhang Wuji is like a young guy, right? Like from teenager years, like you know him from a kid growing up gradually, so he needs to be really young. I wouldn't say it's a miscast because Wu Qihua is a fantastic actor. I actually loved his acting. He is just too old, just doesn't quite fit into the narrative. She Shiman is a brilliant Zhou Zhiruo. She wouldn't be considered as sort of the classically pretty version like you see as Zhou Haimei, but her acting is just superb. I loved her Zhou Zhiruo. Absolutely adore her. And Li Zi played Zhao Ming because Li Zi is just stunningly beautiful, and her portrayal of Zhao Ming is also extremely close to what you would get from the book version. That very feisty, that very proud princessy, but very brave, actually has a lot of integrity character that comes across her portrayal very well. So in this version, actually, I just love the two main lead female roles. It is relatively small budget, so it's very typical TVB production at the time. Nothing looks glamorous or very like pretty, but the story is very well told. The pace is fast. There's no wasted stuff. Everything happens at the right moment. It's just one of those old TVB drama that you really like because the pacing is just so good. Then there's a 2003 one that's made by mainland China, but then it has sort of Taiwan actors join in. This is the version that's led by Su Youpeng, Gao Yuanyuan, and Jia Jingwen. I think till today this is also one of the favorite versions of 倚天屠龙记 among most of Chinese audiences. Su Youpeng, everybody knows him. In China, or like in the entire Chinese-speaking world, he was first a singer in the boy band, and then 还珠格格 made him like big. He's a really good Zhang Wuji. He played his role very well. And I love the fact that in this drama, they did a lot of CGI, you know, the effects of fighting that are different from what other dramas did at that period. It's not just sparks and flashes and things that just doesn't exist in real world. It's a lot of very subtle effect that actually looked very cool. Also, this one is very well loved because Gao Yuanyuan is very suitable for Zhou Zhiruo as a role. And if you look at her, how her look is done in this drama, you can see that sort of tribute to the older Zhou Haimei version. Gao Yuanyuan is beautiful, right? And she's beautiful in a similar way as how you would imagine Zhou Zhiruo reading from the book. Jia Jingwen is also a brilliant Zhao Ming. Her portrayal of Zhao Ming is very close to how the book would describe, has that very strong energy, that kind of confidence coming from the background of the character because she's brought up in the royals. She has everything. She's very confident in her ability. She's very brave. She doesn't shy away from anything. And if she likes something, she will just say it. You know, that kind of Mongolian or stereotypically what the Han Chinese would portray Mongolian people to be, very open about their emotions, and Jia Jingwen is very good at delivering that. So this is till today I think still one of the most favorite versions because based on the different sort of elements of the drama, the storytelling pace, the acting, the casting choices, everything, this is probably one of the most balanced one. Then there's one that's actually airing right now in China, 2019 version. It has very mixed opinions because some parts of it people really loved. I think mostly actually are the supporting characters that people really love the actors' portrayal. Certain main actors, actresses are also loved or accepted, but then certain people are not. So right now it's still airing and it's like, yeah, a very mixed review. This new version, frankly, I haven't actually had time to invest into looking at it extensively. I only looked at snippets of it. I don't think I will have time. And I don't really want to go into it just because this is not the favorite one of Jin Yong's Condor Trilogy. I prefer the first two. Also, I don't want to watch the main lead actors acting. Yeah. If you've watched it, 演员诞生, he still has a long way to go to get anywhere. I don't like Zhang Wuji as a character to start with, so I think if an actor who's not good enough to do justice, then just don't watch it. It probably will make me not like the character more. At the end, I want to say Jin Yong is the most important wuxia writer. And since his passing last year, a lot of people are getting really nostalgic about these things. And I think there will be more remake to come out in the future. You can't stop that. People just love these stories, love these characters, and frankly speaking, it is a more safe investment to make these things because you know people will go and look. Maybe not that many people, new people, but people would know what they are in for. Let's just say when they know it's a Jin Yong story. Every story he's ever written is been made so many times. Everybody knows exactly what happens. People go into these dramas more like an expert than an audience. They're gonna nitpick everything. Did you do it right? Did you follow the book? Like, why did you change this thing and that thing? That doesn't make sense. Everybody is an expert of Jin Yong. So that is the difficulty. Also the difficulty of the fact that no plot would ever excite people anymore with these books because everybody knows what happens. And if you do dramatic changes, it would not be acceptable. So you kind of are in the place where you make something people already know what they are. And how do you surprise? How do you make people's eyes lit up and say, oh, I didn't expect that. This is good, this is different. It's very difficult to do that. I don't know actually how you could regenerate Jin Yong's work in today's environment, and also because of the nature of the book. The stories are all set in ancient times, so you can't really bring in modern stuff. Like unlike what BBC can do with Sherlock, it's not transposable to Jin Yong's world. So if you want to continue making those old stories, the challenge is really huge. It's how to make it different from everything that has been done already. Anyone can pull that off would be a genius. Finally, at the end, if you're catching this video in future time, other than March 2019, this would be irrelevant to you. But I opened my shop last week and I've got so many orders. Thank you so much for the support. And if you're curious, I think I should be able to put some postcards, the new Guardian themed postcards, up next week. That's my aim. I think I should be able to get all the stuff from the printing press service because I can't do that myself. It's actually a big order. A factory has to do that. Then hopefully by the end of this month, because March is a long month, hopefully by the end I can get my pens. I'm looking forward to see some photos of them next week, and then they will be shipped to me. If you want to find out what new stuff I'm designing or putting up gradually on shelf, because I just design as I go. I don't have a huge plan for like this month I'm gonna put out this many design for whatever. When I feel like it, I just go and design it and draw it or do whatever and then create them and see if it works. If it works, I put it on my shelf. I'm sorry, this is like a bit too spontaneous, probably for the sake of business plan, but yeah, this is how it works with me right now. So I understand if that frustrates some people, because it'll be really awkward if I put something new out and then you just made an order and you realize, I actually want that thing too. I'll try to make it work better for everyone. This is also an experiment for myself because this is the first shop I opened online. I actually am super green, let's just say, in this area. I have no idea about how everything should work out. Also, I've added the option of adding comments on each product that I have. If you've received your shipment and you have any opinions you want to discuss over there, welcome to hop back to my website and leave some comment that might be very helpful to other people who later discover my site and might want to, buy things and see what the genuine reviews are from people who have actually bought them before. Thank you for sticking with me through this. I'm gonna lose my voice very soon. So before that happens, let me just say goodbye at the end of this video. Thank you for watching UX. I will see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama watching.